Hi, this is Mr. Nazarian. Our learning objective today, I can solve word problems that involve addition, subtraction of unlike fractions. 5th grade standard, numbers and operations, fractions, A2. Drew and Maddie were filling the class raised garden bed with soil. Drew shoveled in 1/3 of a cubic yard, and Maddie shoveled in 1/2 of a cubic yard. How much soil did they put into the garden bed altogether? So first off, we want to see what's the question? What is it that we have to find out? We have to figure out how much soil did they put into the garden bed all together. And that all together tells us that we're going to be adding the fractions together. Since we know the question, we can now look for the important information to solving this problem. So as we look through this, they're filling a raised bed, great. He shoveled in 1/3 of a cubic yard. That's important. And Maddie shoveled in 1/2 of a cubic yard. So those are the important numbers that we're going to be working with. And remember, it's all together, which means you're going to add them. So we're going to add 1/3 plus 1/2. Now, the problem here is that we cannot add unlike fractions like that, just add them across. I have 1/3, you have 1/2, that means we have 2 what, right? You can't do that because we're talking about two different size pieces here. So what we have to do is we have to find equivalent fractions for each of these so they have a common denominator. So in order to do that, we're going to have to find a common multiple of each of these denominators. So we have to find a common multiple of 3's and 2's. If I'm counting by 3's, I'm counting by 2's. What's a multiple that we're going to land on that matches, that's the same? So if I'm counting by 3's, I go 3, 6, 9, and so forth. And wait a minute, one of those numbers rung a bell for me, 2, 4, 6. They both, 3 and 2, have a multiple of 6. So that means that I'm going to change these fractions to an equivalent fraction that has 6 as its denominator. So how do I change this 3 to a 6? I'm going to multiply it by what? 3 times what equals 6? 2. And that means that I have to do the same thing on the top. If I multiplied the bottom by 2, I have to multiply the top by 2 as well. And the reason that is because I don't want to change the value of this fraction 1/3. I just want to change it to an equivalent fraction, a fraction that has the same value, but looks different, has a different numerator, has a different denominator, but has the same value. So when I multiply the top and the bottom by the same number, really I'm just multiplying by 1, because as we've talked about in class, if I have the numerator and the denominator is the same, it's the same thing as 1. If I have 2 halves, that's the same thing as 1 whole, right? And as you know, with multiplying, the identity property, anytime that we multiply a number by 1, it doesn't change the value of that number at all. It stays the same. So this is how we find equivalent fraction to get a fraction that's equal value. It's the same value. We didn't change the value at all. We just changed kind of how it looks with the numerator and denominator changing. So 1 times 2 is going to be 2. So that means 1/3 is the same amount as 2 6. It's the same value. Then 1/2, how do I change 2 to 6? I'm going to multiply it by 3, which means I have to do what on the top? Multiply it by 3 as well, right? I have to do the same thing. So again, that means I'm taking this 1/2 and I'm multiplying it by 3/3, which is the same thing as multiplying by 1. I'm not changing the value. 1 times 3 equals 3. And to kind of support what we were just talking about, 3 6 is equivalent to 1/2. When you think about it, 3 is half of 6, right? 3 out of 6. So you can see that 3 6 is the same value as 1/2 there. Okay, so now that we've got all that done, we are going to, now that we know that this 1/3 is the same as 2 6, and the 1/2 is the same as 3 6, now we're talking about the same size pieces, right? So now we have 2 6, 3 6 are all the same size. All we do is just add up the numerators. So 2 and 3 gives us 5, right? And the denominator, remember, tells us like the size. The pieces, they're cut into this many different pieces, right? So we're still talking about 6 here. So we have 2 6, we add 3 6, we have 5 6. That's how you add fractions. We're going to do one more here. Caden invited Owen over to his house. Caden liked to share with his guests, so he got out his chocolate stash from last Halloween. It's not too old. He still had 4/5 of a pound of chocolate. Caden asked Owen how much chocolate he would like. Very sharing, very generous guy. Owen said that he would like 1/3 of a pound of chocolate. Caden obliged. How much chocolate does Caden have left? So again, look at the question first. How much chocolate does Caden have left, right? And so that part, how much does he have left, tells us that we're going to be finding the difference. In other words, we're going to be subtracting. And so now we just need to find the important information. As we read through this, we can see, well, he had 4/5 of a pound to start off with, and Owen took 1/3 of it. So those are going to be numbers that we're working with here. So 4/5 is how much he had. We're going to take away 1/3 to give to Owen. Very generous. So again, though, it's not going to be, well, 4 minus 1 is 3, because we're talking about different size pieces here, right? The denominators are different, so we need to change them so they're the same. Again, we're going to look for common multiples of these denominators, so 5 and 3, and if I think 5, 10, 15, and so forth, I can by 3s, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 is a common multiple, so that's going to be the common denominator that we're going to go with here. Okay, 5 times 3 is 15, means we have to do the same on the top, times 3. 4 times 3 is 12, so 12/15 is equivalent to 4/5. And then for this 1/3, 3 times what is 15? 3 times 5. Have to do the same thing on top, so times 5 on the top here. 1 times 5 is 15, so 5/15 is equivalent to 1/3. Now all we need to do is, since the denominators are the same, this is the simple part. Now we just gonna subtract those numerators. So 12 minus 5 equals 7, and the size pieces are just staying the same, so we're just going to look at that and say, okay, Caden now has 7/15 of a pound, LB, of chocolate. And that reminds me, I need to label this right here, is that Drew and Maddie shoveled together 5/6 of a cubic yard of soil. Okay, that is that. I know that was a long lesson, but we'll work on this tomorrow. See you then.